Well, I just want to repeat, because I think I worked for a Prime Minister and we had a golden rule. When you're sick of saying it, they're only starting to hear it. And I'm saying to our viewers here, and I'm urging you, cannot support a change to our national document based on race. Who was it that decided Tony Abbott couldn't appear? And how did he subsequently make it before the Joint Parliamentary Committee?
Well, here's the problem that I have. A lot of those decisions are made in private hearings, and then for me to come and talk about it, I'd be referred to the Privileges Committee. So those things are made in private, but I don't think it would be any surprise that I think a former Prime Minister who makes a submission should be heard, and it was a good thing that he was heard yesterday.
Yeah, and isn't he right, Abbott, when he argued that the government must be worried that, quote, someone who knows how government works, like Abbott, would explain how the Voice's constitutional right to make representations to everyone about everything could paralyse government. Keith, that to me is unarguable.
Well, it is. And also Tony Abbott comes at this from a person who has a deep conviction and passion for improving the conditions of Indigenous Australians. So no one can question his motives in this. And he is a patriot when it comes to the workings of government, but also improving the lives of Indigenous Australians. And I think Tony's contributions were excellent yesterday.
Yes, because every arm of government, every decision affects us all. All of us, and Indigenous Australians are part of Australia. Aged care, pensions, interest rates, migration numbers, housing, tariffs, whatever it is, export policy, to say nothing of the energy rubbish that's being peddled. Surely it's not alarmist to argue that the Voice, 24 unelected but selected activist Indigenous Australians, would be barking for a say on interest rates, perhaps the budget. That's not alarmist talk, is it, Keith?
Well, we don't know how the Voice will ultimately be composed. That's part of the questions that were put by Peter Dutton, and they haven't been answered. So this referendum is going to go ahead without knowing critical details like that, which Australians should know before they get asked to make this important decision. But of course, the Voice can make representations on any matter it likes. Yeah. Now, the argument has been put, well, then the executive doesn't have to listen. But we know from the migration area of law that it's not about whether you have to listen or not. It's about
Albo said
whether
it'd be a brave government
has to be reviewed.
Didn't Albo say it'd be a brave government who ignored the Voice? I mean, Abbott's right about
that's right.
I mean, Tony Abbott's right. It's a paralysed government. Just on Abbott, Tony Abbott, yesterday he said, and I quote in part, "It's a scandal that people with relevant expertise aren't given every chance to address the inquiry." Then this point, "Never before have we been frog-marched into changing the Constitution like this." It's pretty true, isn't it? Why wouldn't we put Abbott in charge of the no case?
Well, it's not for me to say who's in charge of the no case. There are several key advocates for that, and I think Tony Abbott will certainly be one. He's a very forceful advocate, and his experience goes right back to the last significant referendum we had in 1999, and that's why I led with questions about that period where we had a constitutional convention in 1998, and we should have had one here, and it's a shame that we didn't. Good.